One.
Well, good evening and welcome to the September meeting of the Lower Makefield Township Historical Architectural Review Board. It is 6:02 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have limited participants tonight, but we have a quorum so we can proceed. If everyone has had the chance to read the minutes, I guess that's a question. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
No, I have not.
Okay. And since we're missing some people who might be able to maybe make corrections, etc., including our secretary who would sign them, you would suggest that we move along and deal with the matters under discussion, items 3 and 4. So we do have people waiting for us. Let us invite them into the room and we will proceed with the Prickett House. Is it Eric who is our technician tonight, or who's our technician
have,
for
number 3 live with the board now?
Okay, fine, thank you.
Evening, everyone.
Hi, Paul Johnson. Welcome. You want to introduce yourself again, and okay. Anybody else who's with you, so that we have that information.
I'm from Barton Partners. We're the architects on the Prickett Preserve House project. With me is Joe DeLuca, who represents the ownership group of the property.
Okay, welcome, and why don't you dive right in with whatever you'd like to present, and we'll get on with it.
Sure. So we're back presenting the Prickett Preserve House conversion from a existing house to a cafe, breakfast, lunch, restaurant type use. What you see here is pictures of the house from a few years back while it was still being used as a homestead. It's a couple of additions. The originals being the stone to the left, a couple later additions put on the building over the years. Slate roofs, true wood shutters. Kind of just a good example of an old farmhouse. As part of our development, we are currently working on the apartments to the south end of the site. We've also begun work on the retail portions, which include the Wegmans to the north side. In red here, you'll see other retail areas that are currently under construction. And then towards the middle, there's the two areas that we're talking about tonight, which is blue to the right is the existing barn. And what we're talking about specifically is the house to the left here. It's just a more rendered version of that overall site. Zooming in on that area, the focus of the house and the barn is to create a public space at the middle of this site with the retail surrounding it. The idea is that the barn and the house are a focal point of the site. Barn being used as a restaurant, the house, as we said, is being used as a cafe. I just have a couple of views representing that same park area with the house on the right and the barns on the left. The alternate perspective kind of representing the retail areas around that. And just a view of the house looking towards the Wegmans in the background. Like I said, the existing house is a couple of additions. So the original would have been the initial block here, the later addition, and another later addition, and another later addition of a sunroom. Over the years, the house is, I believe, from the 1800s. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe we're from the 1800s here. As part of our renovation, the idea is to maintain the existing appearance of the house. So the existing plan I'm showing here will reflect in the proposed plan that's coming up. The existing second floor is bedroom spaces, bathrooms, since it was a house. And I just have some existing renderings of what the house looks like currently. Our proposed use, with it being a restaurant, we will be upgrading accessibility with a new ramp at the main entry of the house to bring you into the existing front door. Otherwise, everything that we're doing is internal of the building, bringing in the kitchen equipment, bathrooms as needed, kitchen area, back of house area. The existing patio will remain, the existing covered patio, and there's an existing root cellar and an existing well house that will also remain as part of this renovation. We are proposing to remove the existing enclosed sun porch. It's a much later addition. It's in rough shape. We did some investigating into it and deemed that it's really not salvageable without a complete rebuild. The existing second floor is going to remain as is. The restaurant cafe may use the space as office space, but otherwise we're not changing anything with the house. I have here just a couple color renderings showing the house, which is basically the house as it's shown now. The idea is that we are going to renovate everything to match the existing, to bring it back to what it is. So we'll still be using true divided light windows. We'll still be using true wood functional shutters, slate roofs. And then in this front elevation, you can just see that the ramp that we're adding for accessibility is tacked onto the front of the site here. This is a site plan rendering of the house after we're complete with the renovation. The idea is to take that existing covered patio and extend that around to where the current enclosed covered porch is, to create outdoor seating areas for the cafe that face towards the park space. We've also included various specs on what we intend to use for the existing stone repointing, replacing the patio stone. Any fascia trim will be coming back with actual wood, painted wood instead of aluminum wrapped or an AZAC, something that's age appropriate. Copper gutters and downspouts, iron guardrails for the ramps. Like I said, wood shutters. We'll be replacing what's existing or trying to repair what's existing. Replacing the existing slate roof, replacing the existing clapboard siding, or repairing as needed, and new windows that'll be true divided light, and the existing exterior doors we intend to salvage and reuse. It's just a key pointing to some of the specs that are on this material list. But that's it. If there's a specific image you guys would like me to jump back to, just let me know.
Okay, to begin the discussion, I would like to ask if you addressed any of those concerns that we brought up at the last meeting and how you addressed them.
Yeah, so one of the projects.
No, I was going to say we addressed them all, whether it was, providing a color chart or a materials chart, which is on the screen right now. And then we addressed, the porch that we're removing, which is, we had discussion about last week about, installing the patio, for outdoor seating, at that location. And if you remember, one of the board members brought up how the two roofs join. You could see, the rafters don't really align. So that addition of that porch really, is not functional as it sits right now. If we were going to try to replicate it, we'd really have to probably change the rafter line on the existing building.
And part of the previous discussions was how that space would be used and the relationship it would have to the barn. With it not being that salvageable without modifying the existing building in some way. We're still trying to achieve some kind of a tie-in of that space to the park setting and then to the barn across.
Okay, to get back to the point about the colors, you said you had a color chart. Now, I did see indications of what the colors would be, but are there Pantone numbers associated with them? And has that been submitted? Because that usually is what's required for our any other submission.
Yeah, we have selections on the mortar colors. We have, actual specs for the stone patio materials. The gutters we're using by the manufacturer, they are just copper. Any white wood is painted white. And the slate will be a gray to match the existing.
So it's just the white. Is there bright white? Is there a Pantone color associated with the manufacturer? My screen is pretty small, so I didn't see exactly if you had a picked manufacturer and color number for that.
I mean, it would just be a bright white. I don't think there's anything unique about the white that we're dealing with here.
I mean,
Right,
the good thing, Steve, as you know, good thing with the exteriors of the barn, there's really not a lot of repointing. If you walked around the building 360, there's very few areas, if any, really that need to be repointed. So that's really minimal. And the trim's going to be white on the outside. It'll be very, very consistent to what's there now, other than all the flakes and all that other stuff. So I think from the color chart, we really have complied with Harb has typically requested. And what we're really saying to you is the facade of this building, there's no changes to other than removal of the patio. And that's really what we're looking for review tonight. So we can move ahead and, get this building, permanent and move forward.
The other thing that was on the meeting minutes that I saw was a discussion of the actual composition of any replacement mortar to comply with, I guess, Secretary of the Interior standards for historic restoration.
The Secretary of Interior, as you know, this building's not on the National Historic Registry. And if you do a walk around of this building, very, very few areas need to be repointed. We're not repointing, gables and, end walls and all that stuff. It will be a touch up in certain areas, probably less than 5% of the whole exterior, maybe not even quite that. So I think we're really splitting hairs, with something like that, Steve. And we're going to match the existing mortar, and we gave you the mortar color. We're going to match.
I understand mortar color, and that's one of the things that would have to have a mock-up on site in order to
Steve,
characterize.
Mock-up on site. We did the submittal. We're asking for a review of the removal of the patio, and we've complied with what the submission of Harb has asked us to do and what your guidelines are.
Okay. Well, I specifically asked for the Pantone number because that's the normal kind of thing. If you're presenting this to the supervisors, I would suggest that you present with this both of those items, the actual composition of the mortar, in order to basically match the existing mortar, so that any kind of infill that you're doing, any kind of touch up, any kind of repointing is going to be consistent and wear at the same rate as the other adjacent areas. And then the numbers of any kind of, like the underside of the porch, the ceiling of the porch. Fine. If it's white, then give the actual paint manufacturer that you're using and present them with this information to the supervisors at the time of your final request for a certificate of appropriateness. The other thing that just occurred to me that I didn't really necessarily, because noticed before because we were focused so much on removing the greenhouse type of framing for that end piece. There's really no details on how that ramp is going to look. Transition from a stone base to I don't know, maybe some kind of slate top. I don't want to design it for you, but I'm just saying we don't have the details on it.
Yeah, it's all going to be concrete. And Paul, if you flip back, to your rendering, it's
a modern concrete ramp, all made out of concrete with the railing that's installed. That is a modern ramp. Correct. Again, that's a style of addressing restoration that is understandable. And if it would be helpful to have the details. I know that these are not detailed drawings for construction, but detailed drawings to see exactly what it looks like would be helpful. A blow up of the rendering to make this presentation.
We'll definitely have that when we go to the Board of Supervisors.
Fine, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to point out there are accessibility considerations when you're dealing with a ramp like this, as far as what we can and can't do with railings.
Sure.
For stability, for surfaces, there are some limitations we have to deal with.
I certainly understand. Okay.
We'll definitely.
I'm sorry to take up so much.
Yeah, we'll definitely have the detail when we go to the Board of Supervisors.
Fine. That's what I'm asking for, to dot the I's, cross the T's, etc. Jeff, Mike.
I agree with you, Steve. As long as they have the details for the township, I'm good with everything else.
I like their proposal myself. I like their proposal myself.
Okay. All right. We can proceed if anybody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the renderings as submitted, as long as they have the details that Steve has asked for the supervisors.
I'll second that.
Okay, so moved and seconded. I'd like to make one statement as we proceed to vote on this, that I'm still against the idea of removing a very distinctive portion of this building because of deterioration and the fact that it needs a lot of work in order to bring it up to a useful bit. So if I will probably vote accordingly, but the point is that I want to make it clear that it has nothing to do with the quality of the rest of the work, which I see is very reasonable and acceptable. But the fact that I hate the idea of removing something that is a very distinctive part of this building. So we also, at this point, need to ask if there are any people online who have comments before we have the final vote. So public comment. Eric, is it, our technician? I was hoping somebody's listening to discussion. Is there anybody online to have any public comment? We're on the phone.
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we can proceed to vote. So all in favor of the motion, which is to approve, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right. All against? Nay. So 2-1, the motion passes. And Mr. DeLuca, you can proceed with the process, given the fact that there might be a couple extra things that are required by the supervisors or by this motion that needs to be presented to the supervisors. But we certainly wish you the best in making it a really pleasant place in that center area of that development that's supposed to be I guess, kind of like a public park, public green, and it looks great from that. Hopefully, the big mound of dirt will be gone so we
Yeah.
can see it. Right?
We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Right.
you. Have a good evening.
You too. Good evening. Okay, so we can proceed to point number, is it 3? 4, Wells Fargo.
Have them online. They're joining in a second.
Thank you.
Matt, you are now live with the board.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes, very well.
Good evening, how are you?
All right. Would you introduce yourself and your company and the
Yes.
project? Thank you.
My name's Matt Clift. I'm with MRC Signs. I work with Sign Tech, who has the Wells Fargo account, and we've been working on the rebrands for a lot of locations all across the region. We were at the board meeting last month, and there was some comment that we were looking for some revisions, and I went ahead and got those revisions done. I'd like to share them with you.
Please proceed.
Okay. Everybody can see my screen?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so the Wells Fargo last month was to the right of the front entrance door over here on the EFIS. You guys expressed some interest on getting that moved back to the existing location where the current letter set is. So we went ahead and moved that proposed letter set back to where the original location of the existing letter set is. Everything else in the brand book was approved, according to my knowledge, other than sign location 1, which is EO1 here at the storefront. But if you'd like, I could go through the brand book just to kind of get a refresh on what we're proposing there. Shall I proceed?
Please, just,
Okay.
Review, because I'm not sure Mike Kirk, who's a board member who was not there last time, so we should see this.
Okay, not a problem. So first page here is just the cover page showing the client property address over here at 6790 Cock Road, Yardley. This is an aerial site plan showing the locations of each existing letter set and then the first refresh letter set location. EO1's over here at the front door, EO2, EO3, and EO4. The first location is EO1 at the front entrance. And originally we had this plan to be over here at the EFIS. We decided to make sure that everything was compliant with the board, and we relocated it back to the stone wall where the existing one is currently, and this is the existing in black. EO2 is going to be the same remove and replace with a new set of red non-illuminated letters. This is a detail page illustrating the width and the height of the letters, the construction, that they're going to be non-illuminated here. EO3 is on the back side. That's the existing in black. they're proposing to upgrade it to their more prominent red coloring of choice. EO4 is on the back side here, and that is the existing letter set here in black. It's going to be going over to the red to be more compliant with the red as the other letter sets are. EO3 and EO4, this is the cut page. They're both the same width of 5'2" and a height of 30 inches, and they're also non-illuminated.
Hang on, go back to that. We
Yep.
have a, do we have a color number, Pantone type of number for these?
Yeah, it's
The
a
red.
Matthews paint. It's a M99902.
Oh, that's it. Okay,
So, yeah,
fine.
it's
You
their brand that their color red that they're using on all their locations.
Fair enough. Just as long as we have that kind of information available for checking it, make sure we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Not a problem. EO5, EO6, and EO7 is all the clearance signs for the drive up. ATM, teller, and the windows for here. So there's some existing clearance signs here, and they're just going to be upgrading it to give it a little refresh. This is the cut page for it. E10 is just some replacement vinyl for the teller window. E11 is a remove and replace for some DOT signage. And this is the cut page for it. And that concludes the scope of work here at the property.
Okay, thank you. I would kind of just out of interest want to know if there was any reaction to your the move of that on the to the left side of the front door. If you got any kind of positive feedback from any of the from the client in particular.
The client was fine with the location of the letter set being where the existing one was.
Okay.
I believe that the designer from Sign Tech out in California switched it to the right side, but they had no concerns with it being moved to the other location after the last month's meeting.
Well, the red is certainly bright against that stone.
It is, and personally, I feel like actually it's more prominent, and you can really see that it is Wells Fargo. The black kind of hides in the stonework there.
It did. Okay. Jeff, Mike, do you have any comments upon this?
I'm good with everything, Steve.
I'm good as well.
Well, I think we're moving toward a conclusion. Do we have a motion to approve then, and a second, and we'll move along?
Make a motion, we approve the renderings as shown at the meeting.
I second.
Okay, that's presented. Okay, great. Moved and seconded. Any public comment?
There's no public comment online.
Thank you. So we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Sounds like it's unanimous. So we are going to pass this along to the building officials, and they will present it to the supervisors. And I hope that at the next available slot they have at a supervisors meeting, they'll take care of getting your certificate of appropriateness for these changes.
Okay, great.
I'm not sure about what representation might be required, but you can check with our, it could be another online Zoom type of presentation to them as well.
Okay. right.
But check
Thank
with
you very
Jim
much for your
Majewski
time.
for that. Sure. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
And good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right. Well, let's, Mike, Jeff, I think that's the end of our list of projects that we have to consider. But I would bring up something that we've kind of been talking around for the past kind of 6 months almost, having a formal process established with whatever kind of forms, required materials, details. I think the idea of having related properties adjacent, especially in the village, those kind of things, kind of how they blend in and how any new work is compatible or how it differs, and those kind of things should be part of the effort. So, Mike, I'm not sure if we can ask you to kind of take this back to Jim and between the two of you come up with the process that we should go through in order to kind of formalize all of these questions.
Steve, didn't Jennifer say there used to be something in place in the way of forms?
Well, maybe what we have to do is review that. I remember quite a bit of that kind of stuff, but I haven't seen anything lately, certainly nothing that we have to stamp. It's a little hard to do anyway,
Right.
on a Zoom meeting. But I think that if we get some kind of formal process with appropriate notification to our applicants that they come in with all this stuff already done, so we don't have to ask at the last minute. I should have thought about it at the last meeting we had with DeLuca about details for that ramp. You know, it just showed vague something in the distance, and it certainly there were no close-up elevations or detail elevations of how they looked. And you know, it's fine to see a cut sheet on the submittal page, but you know, they're 8.5 by 11 pages. They're fitting a lot of stuff on it, and it's not like it says here's a link to what it is that we're actually doing, and that might have been something that could be brought up as a part of the process. That if there are specific materials, specific process, specific details, they be, even if they're not brought to the table, that they be something that we can click on as a link and kind of bring up on our screen, so we have some kind of you know, real solid information about them, rather than kind of saying, oh, whatever you want to do, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's not whatever they want to do, it's whatever the board considers appropriate.
Sure.
Mike, is that something that you could undertake?
If you can email me with all the requests that you're asking, so I remember, I'll talk to Jim.
Okay. I'll try and put it in a digestible format, and we'll send it to the other board members who are not with us tonight. And I'm glad we got whatever we got out of the way, so that Mr. DeLuca cannot go claiming that we're holding him up. We don't want to hold up progress, right, Mike? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Without exception, then so moved. Mike, good talking to you again. See you in the field, maybe. And
Yep, have a good night.
Right, Jeff, you too. Don't make yourself too scarce.
Yeah, right.
Stop by.
Okay,
You can see that floor.
right.
Good night.
Thanks.